Hoiberg will launch the three. Oh, he hits!
Clobber to left field. Another double for Washington. This time it's Nick Kresnak.
But no doubt, 2-run, go-ahead homer in the 7th. The bat flip puts the exclamation mark on a comeback.
An RBI knock from Kreznak, who's had an incredible night.
Sam Hoiberg, the son of the coach, to steal the bucket.
Welcome back. Episode 4 of the sports section. There he is, the Acalanes High School all-time passing leader, Nick Kresnak. I'm Matthew Mounsey. Krez, did I make that up?
Yes, I think that is a 100% fabricated statement, but I appreciate it. It's good to be back. Sorry I missed it on Sunday, but I think we got a good episode in store for y'all.
Me and Sammy held it down. We're excited to have Krez back for a massive UFC preview card. I'll be the first one to say it. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you so much, Mr. White. It's a huge present for us. I feel like the last couple pay-per-views have been pretty bad. So hopefully this one lives up to the hype.
The last pay-per-view card was fucking terrible.
I think it might have been one of the worst ones of all time.
It was genuinely one of the worst fight cards I've ever seen.
That was the thing, too, is like there were only like 2 big fights, I guess. The second one wasn't even that big, but the rest of the card was awful. And then the main event ended early. Like, what are we doing?
And not even just early. It ended after like 3 minutes.
I know, and it looked like it was going to be a good fight, too.
It was miserable.
No, it was not fun to watch whatsoever, which is usually not the case with UFC pay-per-views.
Usually Dana does a nice job for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been going on with you, Krezzy, since the last time we saw you? I feel like we got to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, man. Honestly, not a whole lot. Just working away. Got out and played a little bit of golf today, which was good. Got out with some of the coworkers some of them are sticks out there, so they were making me look a little silly, but it was a good time. Had some decent weather. Haven't seen a hole-in-one since last time, unfortunately, but yeah, nothing too crazy. How about yourself? What's going on?
I'm doing great, man. I went up to Fort Worth last weekend, got to see all the fellas, and actually, I got to pass along a couple of greetings. We have a couple very faithful listeners from some of our fellas. So we went to a new bar that I hadn't been to. It was in the Stockyards that night next to Filthy McNasty's, right on the corner of that street.
Did they just put it in or what?
No, I think it's been there, but I don't know. We haven't been there before. This was my first time. It was awesome. We tore it up.
You remember the name of it?
I'm trying to think. I don't remember the name. I'm sure I could find it. But we had a very good time, and we saw a good amount of the fellas from SIGEP, both of us former SIGEPs at TCU, from 2 years older than us, that are big fans of the pod. They've been tuning in. JP Spellmeyer would like me to pass along his hello.
JP, I miss that dude. What's going on, brother? Glad you're along for the ride with us.
He's living in Chicago now.
Oh, is he?
Uh-huh.
It's a great city. I love Chicago. I'm actually headed there in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it was great to see him. And Ford Johnson as well listens to the pod. A big shout out.
Let's go. Dude, I love that. The older guys are getting in on the action too.
Yeah, they're tuning in.
From all over. Love it. Appreciate the love, Ford.
Also, before we get into it, how about a big shout out to our guy, Sammy Hoibs?
What a game last night from the kid.
Career high, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. Come on, one.
Who is that? Draymond Green out there?
He's stuffing it.
He's stuffing the stat sheet.
And if you missed it on the last episode, that was not Sam that was playing. That was his angry alter ego, One.
It's no longer Sam when he's on the court.
It's One.
Uno.
Uno. Shout out to Uno. All right, we got a great episode. in store for all of our viewers out there. A massive UFC card, UFC 322, taking place at Madison Square Garden in New York City, New York. Main event: Islam Makhachev moving up weight divisions to challenge the undisputed welterweight champion, Jack Della Maddalena. We're going to get to the main event in a little bit. Krez, give me a fight. Anything you want, let's talk about it.
Anything I want, my God. That's some pressure right there. Like you said, it's a big headliner for the event, UFC 322 in the Mecca, Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a good show when they head out to New York, and it's going to be a great card too, from top to bottom. There's good fighters all over the place. I think, I don't know. I think we should just start with the first fight of the night.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
First fight of the night, opening the card, we have Baisangur Susurkayev, a 10-0 savage. By the way, he is moving up weight divisions for this fight on short notice, moving up from 185 to 205. This guy trains with Khamzat Chimaev. He also is the same guy that we saw in the Contender Series this summer that won and then fought 4 days later.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. First off, just the fact that he trains with Hamzat, that just makes him scary right out of the gate. And like you said, he was on Dana White Contender Series, and there was a UFC pay-per-view 4 days afterwards, and this guy had such a good showing in the Dana White Contender Series fight that Dana was like, yeah, no injuries, nothing. Go ahead, fight 4 days later. And he went, fought 4 days later, and he won, which makes it even more impressive. I think he submitted the guy in the first round. But we were just talking about this. Whoever this Eric Maconio is, or Maconico, the guy he's fighting, he's 10-3, but he's a plus 600 dog, and I think he's in a lot of trouble.
He's in massive fucking trouble.
That's one thing I've always thought is so funny about the UFC is like, I love the very high level fights, but there's also so many fights mixed in the undercard where one of the guys is like a minus 1,000 favorite and the other guy's plus 800. Like, imagine being the plus 800 guy walking into the octagon knowing you're about to get your ass kicked. Yeah, you have to know. You know who you're fighting, right? You see the odds.
Eric McConico is 35 years old. He is coming off of a win against Cody Brundage.
I mean, Brundage is just a stepping stone. Like, he's a name people know because I feel like big names fight him on their way up. And so I guess that's a good win, but it's nothing to write home about.
Yeah, also, just to go back really quick, Susurkayev is moving up weight division to take this fight. This dude is a savage. He fought on 4 days' notice in his UFC debut after the Contender Series, and now he's moving up weight divisions on short notice once again. He's 10-0 with 8 knockout wins and a submission. I will be taking Baisangur Susurkayev to win in the first round, minus 160.
The fact that he's minus 1,000, he should get it done in the first rounds. I'll put that on my slip as well. Let's just say that. Major savage. 24 years old, too.
That's outrageous. Where does Khamzat train? Are they in Chechnya?
Thanks. Actually, no. I feel like I follow Hamzat on social media. He trains back there from time to time, but I feel like most of the time he like trains in Sweden or something like that.
I know that he used to fight out of Sweden.
Or maybe it's the UAE now, because that's what he like walks out to when he fights.
Yeah, that is a good point. Kirk McConico, like you mentioned, 10-3-1. He does have a 2-inch height advantage. He is 4-1 in his last 5, but he is 1-1 in the UFC.
His only wins over Cody Brundage, which is not much to write home about. Having only 2 fights in the UFC, I know Susurkayev is new to the UFC as well, but just what he was able to do, the fact that Dana White has this belief in him to put him on a card 4 days after fighting on Dana White Contender Series. I'm sorry, I just don't see any chance for Eric, unfortunately.
I do not either. Let's move on. What is the next fight that you would like to speak about?
This whole card's pretty stacked from top to bottom. There's a notable name with Gerald Meerschaert, where he got slept by Hamzat in like 17 seconds in one of Hamzat's first fights. Do you remember that?
Yes, that was outrageous.
Yeah, everyone was like, "Oh, Meerschaert's gonna kick this guy's ass," and Chimaev just goes in there and throws a single punch and then just walks out. So that's the only reason really people know Gerald Meerschaert's name, but he's fighting Kyle Dawkins, who's had some success in the UFC. A lot of knockouts from him, and he's a minus 500 favorite. So it looks like Meerschaert might get slept early once again. But the next fight I really wanted to talk about was the Malcolm Wellmaker fight against Cody Haddon. The main reason for that is because of Wellmaker, a stud, up and coming. He's 31 years old, but he's relatively new to the UFC, and he's kind of making a name for himself with some crazy knockouts. I don't know. I feel like the fights at 135, they're always exciting because it's super fast paced, lots of punches being thrown. And I don't know. The way I've seen this guy knock people out before, it just really excites me. And I think it's going to be a fight I'm going to be watching on Saturday.
Well, and I remember Wellmaker from his fraud checking of Cameron Simon, who was probably one of the most well-regarded 135 prospects in a long time. And Wellmaker went out there and stopped him in the first round. I think that was Cameron Simon's first loss in the UFC. He has won all 3 of his fights in the UFC, including that Contender Series fight. And his last win was against Chris Moutinho, the green-haired weirdo that we saw Sugar Sean completely flatline on his rise to the title.
Yeah, that Moutinho guy was blocking punches from O'Malley with his face.
Yes, he was.
Dude, he was not using his hands to block punches.
Not at all.
Oh my God. That was unreal.
Yeah, Malcolm Wellmaker is very exciting. He's also a 5'10" bantamweight.
Yeah, that's unheard of. I guess that's kind of like O'Malley, but having that height is huge at that weight because a lot of guys are super short.
It is indeed, and I do have a thought about the 135 division because honestly, I don't think it matters what any of these guys do. It doesn't, because Marab is going to motherfuck all of them.
Every single one that tries to take his belt.
Tell me one guy that is going to beat Marab.
No, you can't. It's literally impossible to name anyone that'll beat that guy. And honestly, I think he should be the number 1 pound.
It's him and Ilya, both Georgians.
But what about Islam too? There's an argument for him.
Sure. I think that right now it's a little bit tough to put Islam as pound for pound number 1. The only reason because he vacated his title. So it's a little bit tough to have a non-champion up there. He didn't do anything to not deserve that, of course. He hasn't lost in a fucking decade. But I think Ilya, we were there. We saw Ilya put Charles to sleep. That was one of the craziest scenes I've ever seen him.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. And honestly, just while we're on the topic of Ilya Topuria, I do want to expand on this a little bit.
Please.
You just mentioned that we were actually at that fight, and unfortunately, we were rooting for Charles, but that was one of the most ridiculous scenes I've ever seen. From Topuria's walkout, and then following it up with what he did in the cage, that was terrifying. Being a Charles fan.
That walkout song is so electric.
So good. I honestly think it's my favorite I've ever heard.
You think it's better than the Foggy Dew?
Well, that's probably the only one that tops it when it comes to mind, just because it's Connor. And I don't think Connor's run to his title and his lightweight title, I don't think that'll ever be rivaled by anyone ever again, just because of the hype that was around it. And he was on like an 8-fight win streak and just beat everybody in spectacular fashion. That's the only reason I think the Foggy Dew's above Topuria's walkout right now, but shit, they're both so good.
And Sinead O'Connor sang it live.
Which was badass. And Connor ended up knocking out Chad Mendez.
Rest in peace, Sinead. So quickly back to that Gerald Meerschaert fight. I think that we can both agree that he is going to get slept on Saturday night. But I would like to mention that is going to be his 4th consecutive loss if he does lose that fight. But he's kind of fought some killers in that 185 division. He fought Ryanair de Ritter, who is on a meteoric rise right now after beating Kevin Holland, which kind of propelled him into the top 5. He then lost to Brad Tavares by decision, and then lost to Michal Olechechuk, who is now a fighting nerd, even though he's from Poland, and we know all about those fighting nerds. I think we're going to talk about him in a couple minutes.
There is a fighting nerd on the.
Hey, why not? Let's talk about him. Carlos Pratas against the former welterweight champion of the world, Leon Rocky Edwards, and he's the favorite.
Yes, he is, which is very intriguing, and I'm honestly a little surprised by it. He's the favorite at minus 185. Edwards comes in at a plus 155 dog. Edwards 34, Prates 32, and like you were just saying, Prates with the fighting nerds, they've been on a tear recently. He was on an 11 fight win streak going into his fight with Ian Gary, and that ended up being a close fight. Gary got the decision in the end, but Prates had him hurt late and had a chance to win that fight. And then he came right back after a lot of people thought he was on his way out. He didn't have much left to give, and he honestly had one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen against Jeff Neal.
And Jeff Neal is a gatekeeper of that division, as is Neil Magny.
Yes, and he has 2 wins over both of those guys. But still, that spinning elbow that Prates knocked out Neal with was insane.
It's incredible. And you look at those guys too, they're all high-level jiu-jitsu black belts, but when you think about the fighting nerds, you think of their knockout power.
100%. Ruffy shows that all the time. I think of him more of as a kickboxing guy. He's one of their main kickboxers, obviously, but then John Silva too. That guy just goes out there and bangs. He obviously has his jujitsu, but he's there to knock your ass out. It's the same with Prates too. He likes to fight on the feet as well. And I don't know, man. Who do you like in this fight?
I like the plus sign. I like getting
Do ya?
plus money on a former champion. Leon has been on a little bit of a fall as of late. And I feel bad for him because I think that people are underestimating him. But this is a guy that we saw with an incredible comeback win and a head kick against the former pound for pound #1 in Kamaru Usman. But then they rematch and he dog walks Kamaru for 5 rounds.
Yeah. That was a really interesting turn of events because he had the miraculous head kick right at the end of the 5th round against Usman in their first fight, and Usman dog walked him that entire fight up until the head kick. And for Leon to come right back after winning the belt that way in the immediate rematch with Usman and do what Usman did to him in the first fight, it was really impressive. But he's been on a little bit of a skid. He lost to Bilal in his second title defense, and then he came back, fought Sean Brady, and honestly got his ass kicked in that fight too.
Dude,
So
he got
I don't know.
smoked.
I kind of like Prates in this fight just because I think it's going to be a stand-up war, and Prates throws some knockout shots.
I agree. I do think it's going to be a stand-up war, but my thing is you look at his last 2 losses back-to-back to Bilal and Sean Brady. Sean Brady motherfucked Leon Edwards. He laid on top of him for 4 rounds and then ended up getting a submission. Leon's submission defense has not looked great throughout his career, but like you said, this is going to be a stand-up battle, and Leon is one of the best kickboxers in the world right now. I just don't want to sleep on the former champion in this fight because Leon is 34 now, which is on the older side for UFC fighters, but he was the champion just about a year ago, and I don't want to underestimate him. Carlos Pratas is a rising star. He's incredible. We've seen his incredible knockout power, and his creativity on the feet. I think this fight goes to a decision, and I just like Leon's experience. I don't know. Prates could easily win this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't hate that at all. I could definitely see Leon winning this fight by decision and knockout. It's a fight that really could go either way. I think the odds are a little more spread than I thought it was going to be. Um, I thought it would be more of a plus 130, minus 145 type deal, but Leon has championship experience. Before his Brady fight, he had 4 straight title fights. Obviously, he beat Usman twice, one of the welterweight goats. So yeah, I don't think you can count Leon out in this fight. He's 34, getting a little older. We'll see if he slows down on Saturday, but Prates, I think, still has a lot in the tank as well. So I think we're in for a really good scrap between these two.
Let's talk about another Brazilian back on the prelims. Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez taking on Roman Kopylov. We saw RoboCop on that Ilya card live with one of the nastiest knockouts I've ever seen against Jack Hermanson. RoboCop comes into this fight as a minus 180 favorite against a really good contender in Roman.
Yeah, he's got a tall task in front of him, and that RoboCop knockout at the Ilya fight was insane. Dude, I thought Hermanson was going to literally perish inside the octagon.
Flatline.
It was really bad. I feel like I find myself saying that a lot recently with the UFC just because there have been some pretty horrific and insane knockouts. But that was definitely one at the top. And Kopylov has the same ability though. Like he's so good on the feet. He's not your typical Russian fighter where he sniffs your crotch the whole time. He stands on the feet and lets it go. So again, I think this is another really exciting fight, and I think either of these guys have a good chance at winning.
Kopylov has fought some killers recently, too. He's coming off a decision loss against Paulo Costa, who is a mainstay in the top 3 of this division. He beat Chris Curtis prior to that and has had success in the UFC. I don't hate the plus sign next to Roman Kopylov. However, Gregory Rodriguez, the RoboCop, has ridiculous knockout power. You look at his record, 17-6, he has 11 wins by knockout and 3 submissions. So only 3 of his wins come by decision, and 2 of his losses come by decision. That's 5 out of 23 fights going to a decision. I don't know how long this one's going to go.
That is very funny that you just segued right into that because I was literally just thinking in my head, I like this to not go the distance. This fight is going to end within 3 rounds.
I would very much agree with that. I think it's going to be a banger, too.
This fight is going to be an absolute banger. Not going to go the distance. Someone is going to be on the floor unconscious. Looking forward to it.
Before we get to the main card, do you have any other prelims that you want to talk about? I do believe that Bo Nickel will be wrapping up as the featured prelim. We saw him get fraud checked semi-recently.
Yes, the good old fraud check on Bo Nickel, the promise, the truth of the UFC. This guy was Dana White's baby, and they kind of fed him to the wrong guy in Ranier de Ritter, who has been on a tear recently.
Savage.
But Bo Nickel definitely got exposed in that fight. His wrestling was not very successful. We all know de Ritter's a great wrestler and obviously tough to take down and control, but Nickel kind of got dominated in that fight, so obviously he's taken a step back in competition with Vieira, and the line's a little closer than I'd expected. I think Bo Nickel's a much better fighter. I think he'll get it done, and most likely by finish if I had to guess. But the line's a little bit closer, so I'm a little skeptical on that maybe, but I think it's Bo Nickel in the end.
Well, and if you remember, it was the body shots from de Ritter that ended up killing Bo Nickel. So many knees to that midsection. He just couldn't really keep up with the pace. I feel like his cardio kind of got checked too. And you look at Rodolfo Vieira, he's got some fights under his belt. He's been in the UFC for a good amount of time. I think that his cardio is pretty well established. Yeah, you look at Rodolfo Vieira, a very high level jiu-jitsu black belt with 9 submissions in his 11 wins, but he's been in the UFC for a while, coming off a win against Trishan Gore, a loss against Andre Petrosky, but they fought back to back and they split in those 2 fights. He did beat Cody Brundage prior to that. Bo Nickel, I just don't know if he's gonna be able to get a finish on the ground. His striking has definitely improved since he's come into the UFC, but De Ritter outstruck him in that loss. So I think that if Bo can be successful on the feet, that is where he could get a finish. But I don't know if he's gonna be able to submit Vieira considering that jujitsu background from a native Brazilian.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad point at all. Obviously, Nickel has great jujitsu too, but when you're going up against a black belt, that's a tough task. Bo Nickel has great jujitsu, but it's going to be a tough task to finish Vieira on the ground. Well, like you said, I think Bo Nickel's striking has come a long way, and I think the striking will open up opportunities for Bo Nickel to take him down, but it's going to have to start on the feet. I like where you're coming from. I don't necessarily love the plus sign in Vieira, but I think Bo Nickel can outstrike this dude.
And Bo Nickel comes out of that Penn State wrestling program. We know how accomplished they are. I do want to talk about collegiate wrestling for a quick second because I saw a headline last week. I think it came up on my Instagram, probably on the sports section Instagram because we follow so many Nebraska accounts. The Huskers are the reigning national champions in collegiate wrestling. They had a home wrestling match last week on a Friday night, and the undisputed champ Terrence Crawford was in attendance in a sold out arena. They had 15,000 at a collegiate wrestling match.
Nebraska faithful, baby.
Shout out.
Why does that not surprise me at all that Nebraska's wrestling team is one of the best in the country?
Coming off a national title.
Corn-fed country boys.
Going fit.
Corn-fed.
Before we get to the main card, I think that there's something that we need to discuss, Krez. Last week, we did least surprising headline, and you talked about how the Jake Paul Tank Davis fight was off. Let's do the most surprising headline because there was some news about Jake Paul today that blew my fucking mind. Is he actually going to fight Anthony Joshua?
Dude, all right. If you know me, you know I hate Jake Paul with a passion. Sorry, Jake Paul, if you're listening to this. But the fact that he jumped from Tank Davis, who's like 140 pounds, to Anthony Joshua, who's like 250 pounds, I will say he has a pair of balls on him.
Stone.
Yes. And I don't know. I must not know anything about boxing because if Jake Paul thinks this is actually a good idea for him to fight Anthony Joshua, then I'm just living on a different planet in the boxing world, apparently. But looking at this from my point of view, I think Jake Paul is going to get really badly hurt.
Right?
I don't know. I mean, like, he has to think he can win if he takes the fight, but like, I don't. Anthony Joshua just knocked out Francis Ngannou. Like, that was one of the worst boxing knockouts I've seen.
And Francis Ngannou was the baddest man on the planet going in.
Yeah. He probably should have beat Tyson Fury in a boxing match, and then Anthony Joshua goes out there and makes him look like a little child.
Yeah. And don't forget about the stat about Francis Ngannou's right hand and how it hits harder than like a sedan going 45 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't know how that's calculated, like pounds per square centimeter or something like that. But yes, his fist is the force of a sedan going 40 miles an hour into a wall. So I don't think you want to be on the receiving end of
I certainly wouldn't.
it. No, couldn't pay me enough money.
No. So I think that we're both on the same page that Jake Paul is in massive trouble with this fight. I hope that he doesn't get seriously injured, but I don't really see another outcome.
Yeah, I think it's gonna end in a pretty vicious knockout if I had to say so myself. But let's go back to this really quick. We were talking about how Jake Paul has this huge size advantage against Tank Davis, but now he's gonna be at the huge size disadvantage against Anthony Joshua. What do you think his plan is? Maybe he has the speed on Joshua, but he most certainly does not have the power. I don't think he's gonna be able to knock him out. So how does Jake Paul possibly win this fight?
I genuinely have no idea. I think it was a poor idea to take this fight by Jake Paul. I don't watch really enough boxing to understand how this size disadvantage could prove beneficial for Jake. He loves fighting smaller guys. He's done it his entire career. He was just about to fight Tank Davis. I, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. Maybe this is one of those fixed fights, or well, let's talk about it. Do we think this fight actually happens?
I don't know. It's still in the finalization period right now, so it's not officially a thing as of yet. But if the fight does get signed, I think I could see it happening just because I think Anthony Joshua is a professional. But when it comes to Jake Paul, I don't know. Maybe he's going to pull out of this fight. Who knows? He's probably going to get his ass kicked. So we'll see. But I hope it doesn't. I'd like to see it get played out because I just, for one time, want to see Jake Paul get flatlined.
We haven't gotten to see it yet.
I know because he's actually like not that bad,
No,
but it's a long time overdue. That's for sure.
I think it would be entertaining.
Oh, it would be one of the best things I've ever seen.
All right, let's go to the main card. Madison Square Garden, New York, New York. This is going to start at 10 o'clock on the East Coast, 9 o'clock Central. An absolute banger, potentially the best card of the year. And to kick things off on the main card, we have Benoit Saint Denis, a minus 185 favorite, against the old man, Beneil Dariush. When I hear BSD, all I can really remember is him getting fucking smoked by Dustin Poirier.
That is such a good representation of how I feel as well. Literally every time I hear his name, that's all I think of. I think that might be because I'm a huge Dustin fan. But that was also one of the coolest knockouts of all time. He kind of got battered and bruised there in the first round, and then he just comes out in the second and starts throwing down. But yeah, this is going to be a good fight between Saint and Dariush. What do you think about this?
Well, it's interesting to me because Saint Denis got fast tracked to a number one contender fight when he fought Poirier. He was like a minus 190 favorite as the number 12 prospect in the division, coming off of a win against the steamroller Matt Fravola, who I love, by the way.
That was a vicious knockout, by the way.
So he gets fast tracked to a number one contender fight, and then he gets really fucked up in the first round against Renato Moicano, Manny Moicano. And the doctor ends up stopping that, which was the right decision. He was leaking a lot of blood from all parts of the facial area. And so he goes back-to-back losses. He fights a trash can, gets a submission. He's coming off a submission win against Mauricio Rufy, who is not a trash can, a fighting nerd. And now BSD goes into this fight against Dariush, who is 23-6-1. But Dariush is just really old to me, and I don't think that he has a lot of finishing power, especially on the ground against Saint Denis. I think BSD can hold his own on the ground. I think he has a massive advantage in the striking department, and I like the Frenchman by knockout.
I don't know. I've always not been a huge Beneil Dariush guy, but I feel like he always finds ways to win. I mean, he's 23-6-1, and he had an 8-fight win streak going into his back-to-back losses, but he lost to Charles Oliveira and Arman Sarukian, who is the number one contender in the lightweight division right now. and Charles has been at the top of that division for years. So those aren't bad losses. And then he obviously has wins against Moicano. He just beat him at Intuit Arena in Los Angeles. And he has wins over Gamrot and Tony Ferguson as well. I know Ferguson was kind of on the decline, but Gamrot's a good win. So I don't think you can count out Dariush.
Well, and you look at that 8-fight win streak, Thiago Moises, good win. Drew Dober, good win. Drakkar Klose, good win. Tony Ferguson, whatever. We're not talking about Tony Ferguson. Mateusz Gamrot, really good win. And Charles Oliveira and Arman Sarukian are the number 1 and the number 2 contenders in the lightweight division. I don't know if Arman is actually ranked number 2 right now, but he was the number 1 contender, and he hasn't fought since he was the number 1 contender. So he's clearly regarded in that vicinity. And then he beat Money Moicano, who had a title shot against Islam. Sure, it was on 1-day notice. He still fought for the title.
He's good enough to be in the octagon with Islam, I guess.
A really good resume for Beneil Dariush. He is 36. He looks a lot older with all that gray hair. I do like Saint Denis' age. He is 7 years younger, has an inch in height, an inch in reach. Both these guys southpaws. I think it presents an interesting matchup on the feet. I think BSD has the edge there. Potentially Dariush with the edge on the ground. I just don't see him really being able to submit Benoit Saint Denis.
But I'm gonna have to be the devil's advocate here. Sounds like your final goes with Saint Denis, the Frenchman. By the way, he was in like the French Secret Service or like special ops before he got into mixed martial arts, which I just think is insanely badass. But like I said, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I think I'm gonna go with the plus sign at 155 with Beneil Dariush moneyline.
He's a veteran. He's got that experience. We talked about Carlos Pratas and Leon Edwards. That is the next fight on the main card. Leon Edwards is coming off of a loss against Sean Brady. Sean Brady is a minus 140 favorite against Michael Morales. Brady is on a huge rise. I am surprised this line is as close as it is. You?
I don't know. This fight's hard because Brady is on a huge rise. His only loss in his career is to Bilal Muhammad. He's 18-1. And Bilal's the former champ at 170. I mean, as much as I dislike that guy as well, he's a great fighter. He gets wins against big names, and he just lost his belt to JDM, who's challenging Islam this weekend. So I really do like Sean Brady. He's got wins over Leon, Gilbert Burns, and Kelvin Gastelum too. But this Michael Morales guy, dude,
He's a problem.
4 out of his 6 fights with the UFC have ended in knockouts, and he has wins over Burns, who he knocked out. He's a big win for anybody, I feel like, in that division. And then he obviously has Lil Magny, the stepping stone, and Jake Matthews too. But all of those ended in KO. And this Michael Morales kid is scary.
He's also undefeated.
Yep, never lost.
18-0. 13 knockouts.
Never.
Undefeated, never lost.
LeVar Ball. What a guy.
13 wins by knockout. 1 submission. This fight is not going to end in a submission for Morales, in my opinion. Sean Brady, however, just submitted the former champ Leon Rocky Edwards. And in that Bilal fight, his only loss, he got knocked out. He did not get submitted.
He got knocked out by Mr. Pillow Hands himself.
Precisely. Sean Brady is outstanding on the ground. He dog walked Leon Edwards. I don't know how great his submission game is. He had so many chances to put Leon out of his misery early that he wasn't able to capitalize on. Morales has good grappling, but not to the level of Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady is potentially the next title challenger.
Yeah, I think this win puts him right in the conversation for the next title challenger. That's for sure. But he's got a tall task in this Morales kid in front of him. I mean, he has insane knockout power. So if Brady can figure out ways to get this against the fence, play in the clinch with him a little bit, and get it down to the mat too, I think he's got a good chance to win this fight. But if it stays on the feet, I don't know. Morales might clip him and end it. So we'll see what happens. But I don't hate Brady money line either.
That is minus 140, by the way. And let's talk about that 170 division for a second because there are huge implications. The three men's fights that end this card are all in the welterweight division with Edwards, Pratas, Brady, Morales, and the main event, Islam and JDM. Who do you see as a potential next title challenger for the winner of this main event?
I think it goes right back to what we were just talking about with Sean Brady. If Brady can win this fight against Morales, I think he could be the next guy. I mean, Bilal's there, but maybe he has to fight Bilal again to get a title shot. I doubt it. I don't think the UFC is gonna try and give Bilal a title shot again anytime soon. So I think Brady has it right there for the taking if he can win this fight. And for Leon too, I feel like if Leon has a good win over Carlos Prates, if he finishes him, he might be right there for the title picture too. I think it would take Prates one or two more fights to get there if he gets through Leon. So I would say it's either Leon or Sean Brady who has the best opportunity of being the next challenger at 170 if they win their fights this weekend.
If Pratas does get by Leon, do you think that sets up a match with Bilal Muhammad, the former champ?
I could definitely see that happening for sure. I mean, like I said, I think if Prates gets through Leon this weekend, he's in a number one contender fight, right? So he could end up fighting Sean Brady if he wins. He could fight Bilal. He's going to be fighting one of those top three guys for a title shot.
Anything to keep Bilal from a title. Anything.
Anything. Just anyone, any result that happens. Give me a knockout, submission, like a stranglehold choke. I don't really care.
An Ezekiel choke, maybe a crucifix.
Yes. Crucifix would be good.
I would enjoy that. This has potential to be the biggest women's UFC title fight in history. We have the now former UFC strawweight champion in Zhang Li, who is moving up weight divisions after vacating her title to take on the current 125 champion, the two-time 125 champion on the women's side, the Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko, who just got her title back from Alexa Grasso. This is an awesome fight. I really like both of these women. How do you see this playing out? Shevchenko, the champion out of Kyrgyzstan, is a minus 130 favorite. Zhang Li out of China, plus 110.
Like you said, I love both of these women very much. They're super entertaining. Both of them go for the knockout, and they're both at the pinnacle of women's MMA, I feel like. They've been on top of their divisions for a long time. They've both shown that they're great champions. And God, this is so tough for me because, like you said, I love both of them. So I don't want to root against either of them. But if I had to lean one direction, I would give the edge to Valentina just because she's fighting at her normal weight and Weili is obviously moving up. But I would not be surprised at all if Weili ended up pulling out of this fight with a win. I'm going to lean towards Valentina. I don't think this fight goes under here. I think it's going to go the distance, and whoever outlasts the other is going to win this fight by decision.
I agree. I like the over, and I'm really excited to see the striking battle between these two ladies. I think Valentina Shevchenko is potentially the greatest women's striker of all time. She had that incredible trilogy with Alexa Grasso. We saw that wild draw on UFC Noche where they were the main event. That might have been the best women's UFC fight I've ever seen in my life. She ended up dominating Grasso in the third. So they are 1-1-1 now. Shevchenko defended her title very decisively. Zhang Li, however, is a complete savage. She is 26-3, 11 wins by knockout, 8 by submission. She's coming off of title defenses against Carla Esparza, Lemos, Tatiana Suarez, she has won a lot of consecutive fights. The strawweight GOAT of the UFC is Zhang Wei Li, and I can never count her out because her wrestling is incredible. However, she's just smaller than Valentina.
You can never count her out of a fight because she is so strong and powerful for how little of a woman she is. Like, have you seen the video of her on Instagram literally just suplexing Francis Ngannou?
She picked him up. He weighs 260 fucking pounds.
Yeah, and she's like 120. And she did it so easily. Like, she is a freak of nature, and she has had some crazy knockouts. She's shown her power, but like you said, she has 8 wins from submission as well. So she's great on the ground too. But I like Valentina in this fight because she's very well versed too, and she's just the bigger fighter in this fight. I feel like it's going to be even on the feet. I think Valentina might have the edge there. When it goes to the ground, who knows? But I think the size advantage for Valentina is going to play a pivotal role in this one.
This is Zhang Wei Li's 5th consecutive title fight. 9 of her last 10 have been for undisputed gold in the UFC. The only exception against Joanna Jędrzejczyk back in 2022. Her only losses in the UFC were back-to-back against Thug Rose Namajunas, who is now in this 125 division as well and has looked very good recently. However, I am with you, Krez. I'm going to lay the slight chalk and take the favorite and still the undisputed UFC flyweight champion of the world, Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko. On the money line, I do think it goes over as well. You ready to do it, Krez?
Main event time, baby.
Let's get to the main event. One of, if not the most impactful UFC welterweight fights of all time. The former #1 pound-for-pound fighter, the former undisputed lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev, moving up weight divisions for the first time in his career from 155 to 170 to challenge the undisputed champ, Della Maddalena, the Australian's first title defense. What a fight we have on our hands. Islam, the Russian, comes in as a current minus 275 favorite as the smaller man.
Like you said, what a fight we have on our hands. This is going to be insane. And I don't know if the betting spreads reflect this. I think it's going to be a very well contested fight between these two. Obviously, Islam's coming in at the #1 pound for pound status. Or is he number 2?
He is currently not #1. I
Poirier
tied it.
Poirier is #1. Okay. Yeah, so Islam, either way, one of the best fighters in the world. And let me just tell you this before we get into talking about this fight. I just thought this was ridiculous. Both of these guys are on big win streak. And leading into this fight, these two are 33-0 combined in their last 33 fights.
Jack Della Maddalena lost his first 2 professional fights. That was back in 2016. He has not lost since. That is almost a decade. Islam has not lost in a decade. His one loss came by an accidental head kick. JDM is 18-2, 12 knockouts, 2 submissions. He just took the belt off of Bilal Muhammad, but his rise to the title was nothing to be ashamed of. A knockout win against Gilbert Burns, a decision win against Kevin Holland, and then he found himself fighting for undisputed gold and was able to realize that immediately in his first chance.
Those 3 names you listed right there, Bilal, Kevin Holland, and Gilbert Burns, are all namesakes in the welterweight division, and I've loved everything I've seen from JDM, honestly. Like, when he fought Bilal, he had great wrestling defense, great scrambles when he got to the ground, and then when he's on the feet, his kickboxing is second to none in the UFC right now. That guy puts a hurting on whoever's in front of him. And obviously, Islam's a great grappler. He's a pretty well-rounded striker too, but I think JDM has a wide margin advantage on the feet. But obviously, when it goes to the ground, Islam will have the advantage there. And we'll see if JDM can scramble and defend takedowns. But if he can, I think it might be a long night for Islam.
Well, and I think that JDM's grappling is underrated because his grappling hasn't really been checked too much to this point. He did have a pretty quick rise to that title, but I've seen videos of him on Twitter grappling with Craig Jones, a world caliber, world champion jujitsu fighter, potentially the greatest jujitsu artist in the world at present. And he holds his ground against Craig Jones. I saw him tap Craig Jones in a video on Twitter. We haven't really seen him have to grapple to the level of Islam. That Sambo style, the Russian grappling is unmatched. But if JDM can stay away from those submission attempts, we know how good Islam's Darce choke is. If JDM can stay away from submissions and get this fight back to the feet, I think that he can stay in this.
100%. You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, if he can stay clear of Islam's submission attempts, because they are going to come throughout the fight, if he has control of JDM, I think he's got a good shot. Just like I said earlier, his scrambling ability, his ability to get back to his feet after getting taken down is really, really good. And he has fantastic boxing. It's so technical. Every shot is exactly perfectly timed right where it needs to be. And I just don't think Islam will be able to match that on the feet. And so if he can figure out ways on the ground to scramble and get back to his feet, it could be a long night for Islam.
One of the knocks against the former lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev, has been his strength of record in title fights. He fought Alexander Volkanovski twice, the 145-pound champion, but that is a smaller weight class. And Volk held his own with Islam in that first fight. Islam with a head kick in the second and dominated Volk, but there were people, including myself, that thought Volk actually beat Islam the first go around. He then had Renato Moicano on 1 day notice. Moicano was planning on fighting Beneil Dariush, who was also on this card prior to getting the call to fill in. Had a great win against Dustin Poirier in a fifth-round submission. Poirier looked good in that fight. He did submit Charles Oliveira, who is the greatest finishing artist in the history of the UFC. But Islam is the smaller man in this fight. This is his first fight at 170. He has never moved up and fought a guy as big as Jack Della Maddalena. And it poses some questions. However, those guys that train with Khabib up in the mountains with the goats, Dagestan, Russia, it is so hard to count them out against anyone. And we know how good Islam really is.
Yeah, you really can't count any of them out. All of those guys that are trained by Khabib, they are his prodigies. They're his projects, and he knows the ability that they have. And as much as people don't want to admit it, whatever system they have going up there, it fucking works.
It's incredible.
And they dominate when they get in the octagon. So it's hard to count Islam out. The fact that he's such a big dog tells me that Vegas knows something I don't. I think we'll probably win this fight, but don't sleep on JDM either.
I think JDM keeps this close. I am really excited to see the striking exchanges. I think that Islam's striking has improved significantly since he entered the UFC and became the undisputed lightweight champion. But I don't think you can bet against Islam Makhachev in this fight. I believe that he becomes a two-division UFC champion.
And then what happens? Does Ilya come up to 170?
How fun would that be? Give me a super fight.
Except I want to see that fight at 150.
I would like to see that fight at 155 as well. Do you think Islam goes back down to 155, though?
I think if he loses this fight, there's definitely some potential for that. But if he wins this fight, I think he'll stay at 170.
I do agree with that, and I also saw that Islam is now taking creatine for the first time in his life to try and add that weight. He was struggling to put on a little bit of weight early in his camp, which was documented on social media, but I think that he's walking around at about 190, 195 right now, which is pretty big even for a welterweight. He's going to be cutting 20 to 25 pounds, which I have no doubt he will do, but it's a different animal. This is a 15-pound difference.
It is. It's a massive difference for him. Obviously, the weight cuts at 55 were pretty brutal for him, but he's still walking around 20, 25 pounds over the weight limit right now. So it's going to be a good cut for him, but obviously it'll be easier than fighting a lightweight. So I don't think he'll be really as drained, but those extra pounds might take a toll on his gas tank in this fight too. So there's a lot of question marks coming in, but he's very experienced. He works with Khabib. He's going to be in well condition.
If Islam does realize undisputed gold in the welterweight division, I do believe there is a likelihood that we could see Ilia Topuria come up and challenge that belt at the White House next June.
On the lawn.
Dana has been talking about that being the greatest UFC card ever assembled. We're talking about a fight on the grounds of the freaking White House, with the President of the United States sitting octagon side just prior the 250th birthday of the United States of America. If Dana has even a chance to put the best two fighters on the roster against each other, you can't tell me he's not going to jump at that opportunity.
100%, as he should. It's going to be the biggest money fight in the UFC if Islam wins this fight on Saturday. But honestly, I just wanted to say it. How ridiculous is that? The fact that the UFC might actually have a card on the White House lawn.
They're going to.
How ridiculous is that?
It's potentially the coolest thing I've ever seen in any sport.
It's unbelievable. I can't believe it, but Dana's going to stack that card, so it's a treat for us.
It is going to be a treat. I cannot wait to see who he puts on that card. All right, Krez, let's do a couple picks before we sign off here. Just going through the entirety of the card and making things official. I've got a couple things written down here. I've got a three-legger that I would like to go ahead and give out. I'm going to take Islam by submission. I know that JDM has very good grappling, but that Darce choke from Islam has pretty much never been defended. He got Dustin Poirier with it just last year. I'm going to take Islam by decision. I'm going to parlay that with the bullet, Valentina Shevchenko moneyline, as well as Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady could potentially get the next crack at Islam if it is not Ilia Topuria. The three of those are plus 750 combined.
I love it. Other than the Sean Brady pick, because I'm going against it.
And I don't hate that. So let's go main event for you, Krez. Are you going to be laying the chalk and taking the former lightweight champ Islam minus the 260?
I will not be. And my reasoning for this is because I can never bet on a Dagestani.
I don't like doing
I have a natural hatred for them since what their relationship with Connor, you know? That hasn't gone very well, so I'm on Connor's side for that one. No, seriously though, I think JDM has a good chance to win this fight. His boxing is so crisp; it's second to none in the UFC, like I was saying earlier. And I feel like his scrambles and the fact that he fights at welterweight, it'll be an advantage for him. So I'm leaning towards JDM to keep this fight on the feet and bloody up Islam a little bit.
I would absolutely love to see that happen. The co-main. Do you like the bullet or do you like Zhang Weili?
Yeah, I think the size for Valentina is going to play a big role in this. Zhang Weili is great in all facets of MMA, but I think Valentina is just as well versed and she has the size advantage and the experience fighting at this weight class. So I'm going to go Valentina.
I will also be taking Valentina. The former champ, Leon Rocky Edwards and Carlos Prates. Prates, the minus 175 favorite. Let's not forget that Carlos Prates smokes about a pack of cigarettes before every fight. That has not affected him in the slightest in the UFC. However, I'm going to take the plus sign with Leon Edwards at a plus 145 dog. This is going to be an outstanding striking match. I cannot wait to watch it. I just lean on that experience from Edwards.
Yeah, I think I might have to agree with you on this one. Like you said, Prates smokes a pack of cigarettes every single day leading up to the fight, but he still looks great in there. I mean, you got to do what you got to do to get ready for a fight, and I guess that's what his solution is. So I'm not hating. I think it's actually awesome. Respect.
Big time.
I love Carlos Prates, but like you said, I think I'm going to lean on the experience of Leon Edwards in this fight. Like he has 4 title fights in his last 5 fights. The experience, being able to go 5 rounds, I don't think he's going to run out of gas. Great kickboxer, so I'm going to take the plus sign, plus 155, Leon Edwards.
We talked about Michael Morales and Sean Brady. You have Morales, I have Brady. Benoit Saint Denis, Beneil Dariush. I love the over in this fight. It is 1.5 rounds at minus 166 at present. I will be laying the chalk on the over.
Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about the money line on this fight just because I genuinely could see it going either way, but it's going to be a decision or a late finish. It will not go under 1.
Bo Nickel, the minus 205 favorite. I do believe he gets back in the win column against Rodolfo Vieira. Your thoughts?
I'm right there with you. I think even though he lost to Leonard Ritter a few months back, he's still a great prospect in the UFC. He's shown his skills, what he has to offer, and I think he's going to be too much for Vieira.
The other underdog that I really do like on this card might be a little controversial considering the knockout power of RoboCop. I like Roman Kopylov, a plus 150 underdog. He is coming off a loss, but he has 12 knockouts. And I think that he might be able to weather the storm and land a big shot against Rodriguez.
He's a great fighter, and he is coming off a loss, but it was to Paulo Costa, who's been a namesake in this division for years. He's still one of the best in the middleweight division, and Kopylov put up a fight against him. It was a close, contested fight. It went to decision. He was right there neck and neck with Costa the whole time. I could see an upset here, too. I'm going to go with Kopylov plus 150.
The underdog will take it. We are extremely excited about UFC 322 coming at you from Madison Square Garden in New York, New York. 10 p.m. Eastern, the main card will start. And after that, we're going to have the sports section after dark, the first installment of it. Hopefully, Krez will be able to join at some point, but regardless, I will be live from the desk immediately following the conclusion of that card, likely around 12:30 a.m. Central. And I look forward to discussing everything from the college football Saturday, as well as one of the biggest UFC cards of the year. Couldn't be more jacked up. How about you, Krez?
Likewise, I've been looking forward to this card for a while. Obviously, a lot of firepower on it, so I think we're in for some bangers, that's for sure. And I'm really looking forward to tuning in on Saturday. So we'll see you on Sports Section After Dark, baby.
Indeed, we will. This comes out on Friday. If you haven't checked out the college football preview that came out yesterday with my guy Patty Kane, some good insight into this weekend's slate. I think that's going to do it for our UFC 322 preview. Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena, Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Wei Li, 2 title fights. Massive implications in the welterweight division. We are looking forward to it. We'll see you right after the card here on the sports section. It'll be live on YouTube. Sam Hoiberg joins us, as always, on Tuesday. There's Nick Kresnak. I'm Matthew Mounsey. Like, comment, subscribe.
All God.
Call God. Thank you, Dana. We'll see you on Saturday night. Sports section after dark. Play the outro.